WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in America. The boutique whiskey company somehow managed to surprise me. Batch number 1, bourbon, 24 years old. 199 pounds, 228 euros, and basically $250 for a 24-year-old 0.5 liter bottle of bourbon. And what really interests me is not the bottle design, not the Area 51, not the alien going, there's nothing to see here, no trespassing, not the Bigfoot walking through the cornfield, not the bottle with the shape of the corn, whatever that pattern is in the cornfield, I forgot. More than anything else, I'm interested in the amount of bottles they found and have of 24-year-old bourbon. 8,376 bottles. Now, if you take the price of, I'm going to use euros, I'm sorry, 228 euros, times it by 8,376, you get 1.9 million euros. That's a lot of money to either earn or to sink into the purchasing price. Now, let's think about this for a second. How many barrels of 24-year-old bourbon do you need to get 8,376 bottles, 0.5 liters? Now, a normal cask has 200 liters. So, imagine over 24 years you have an angel share of 80%. Now, that figure is not way off, I think. The first year in Kentucky is 15% angel share. The first year in Tennessee is 15%. The first year in Kentucky is 10% to 12%, and every following year is 4 to 5%. So let's just go from 4 times 24 is, whoops, nothing left. If we do 4 times 25, 5 times 24, we have absolutely minus numbers. So let's just imagine 20% is still in there. So 20% of 200 is 40 liters. 40 liters are 80 bottles. So 80 bottles divided by 8,376 would actually be 100 barrels is what you need. Now, probably, once again, one of these assumptions, according to what I know about also George T. Stagg, and here, for example, every year the Boutique Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, this is the 2017 William L. Weller. I paid 500 euros for this. Exactly the same price I would pay for that if I had bought the bottle in the liter range. We know that actually many of the barrels were down to 90% with George T. Stagg that were 17, 19 years old. And we know that still the volume of the alcohol was 60-some%. So let's knock off another of these 20 barrels, okay? Just because you can dilute it down to 48%. Those are still 80 barrels. Now, what does a barrel of 24-year-old bourbon cost? You've been on barrel picks. You know how much a normal barrel of maybe 8-year-old or 10-year-old or 12-year-old costs. More. So let's just take a very conservative number. I know that they have gone for over 10,000 euros or dollars. Let's just continue talking euros for the moment. 10,000 euros. So let's just go for a very conservative number of, I don't know, let's go for the 10,000. 10,000 times 80 is 800,000 euros, about $1 million. So they pumped about half of the 2 million, about a 1 million into the price for the barrels. You need another 30-40% if you're going to get these barrels out of the country, bottled, taxes, excise, customs, all that. Now let's just assume the barrel was maybe 7,000, and so you have the 30% on top of that. But still, these guys put about $1 million into bourbon barrels, brought it over to England, are going to sell it for $2 million. That's amazing. Just the sheer size of that thing, of this order, and I haven't seen hardly any advertisements for this at all. The only place I've ever seen this online is one single place. That's Masters of Malt. That's where I got my sample from. My friend Marcel bought this bottle. No, it was Martin, I'm sorry. Martin bought the bottle, did a bottle share with us. And so we're going to sell 8,376 bottles of this. I'm a bourbon freak. Would I pay 228 euros for this? No. And are there 8,376 other freaks out there willing to pay $500+ for a liter of 24-year-old bourbon? I'm really worried about this. This seems to be like a dusty. We'll see about what's going to happen in the future. All right, so, I forgot to pour. I wanted to actually have this in my glass the whole time while I was talking, so I had a little bit of time to develop. I'm so sorry. I'm comparing it, of course, and what do I have? I have a 24-year-old bourbon. What 24-year-old bourbons do you know? I know one, and that is the Parker Heritage Collection Bottled and Bond 24-year-old 50%. This stuff is my bourbon of the year 2017. This was so good. My bourbon of the year 2018 was the Four Roses 150th anniversary batch, but that is actually better. All right, we're going to compare the two. First of all, we're going to nose, we're going to try them, and I'm going to have a final also decision which one is better. So, this is so good. All right, take your best pecan pie, Texas pecan pie. Add into it a flavor of oakiness. Put on top of that a liquid coating of brown sugar. Add to that a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. And then on top of that, put a little bit of a dark, rich honey, and then a tiny little bit of a wonderful old leatherness. And that liquefy it and just turn it into tears from heaven. I mean, this is amazing. This really is. It's a fruity, sweet Christmas morning cinnamon bun galore. This is really, really good. Over here, the Buffalo Trace is lighter. This is darker. This is a little bit more of an orange peel thrown in there. Doesn't make sense. It does make sense a little bit. And it's just actually a much more rounder version of what a 24-year-old bourbon can and should be. So let's try it. 48%, 50%. We don't need water. I'm sorry at the moment. That's just going to waste this. My mouth has enough saliva to open this up. Coating the mouth. The one thing that's not perfect here, and that is naturally caused by the 24-year-old in those casks, is the amount of wood. Now this is woody. This is also a little nutty. This is very good juice. Very seldom have I given an A, but I want to give this an A. Redbreast, 21-year-old, A. Elijah Craig, I think it was the 23-year-old. I think it was an A. This, Parker Heritage, an A. Long-lasting molasses, sugar, cinnamon buns. Pecan pie. Clove, nutmeg, cinnamon. That's how whiskey should taste every single day of my life. That would be fabulous. All right, so cleanse the palate just a tiny little bit here. My $1 million whiskey. Or my $2 million whiskey if you want to talk about the sales. As I said, this is a little bit lighter, a little bit fresher, a little bit more of that orange peel moment. Hmm. Mmm. Mmm. I don't want to swallow. I want to keep it in my mouth as long as possible. Mmm. Oh, I like this much better. It's difficult to say that an A and an A plus is actually so much better, but it really is. There's that woody moment disappears, and the creamy orange zest, brown sugar, cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, old leather, pecan pie moment just kicks in. If you want to have a wood orgy, that was bad. I'm sorry. If you want to have a wood overwooded whiskey, an overaged whiskey, this is it. If you want to have a perfectly balanced, expertly chosen barrels, this is what you need. Now, unfortunately, Parker's Heritage Collection 24-year-old bottled and bond is a unicorn. If you were able to buy it way back when, and maybe more than one bottle, lucky you. I have a friend, he bought it in the secondary market back then for 300 euros. Now it's up over 800 euros, if you can find that bottle at all. This is so delicious. This is the A plus whiskey of my world. I just love this. Over here, we do have something which is only 228 euros for a 0.5 liter. So about $300 at the moment. It's fantastic. But this is just a tiny little bit more my wheelhouse, what I like. Now, 2 questions. Question number 1, is my math off? Did they really not spend almost $1 million buying the cask for the 8,376 bottles? My math is dead on spot for what they're going to sell them for. I know that. And second of all, my question of the day is, what was the oldest bourbon you've ever had? I've had the privilege of having a 30-year-old 2 Horses bourbon. I received it from the distillery owner of the Glen Els distillery in Harz in Germany. He's an antique bottle collector, and he said, Jason, try this. It's something fantastic. Usually it's a 27, maybe a 28-year-old bourbon we've had. When I went to the Heaven Hill connoisseurs tour, they pulled out the bad bourbon. I think it was a 26 or 28-year-old bourbon they had found in the racks, and I was able to try that. What's your oldest you've ever had? I'm sure we are going to go for the 18-year-olds and the 21s and the 23s and so on. But if anyone's ever had any bourbon above 30 years old, I would like to know what it is, and I would love to have the opportunity to have a sample of that as well. All right, thank you very much for watching. WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. I'm not really sure how rare the 8,376 bottles will be, but just one on the market, so I'll be one of the first people actually reviewing this. Please like, please subscribe, and please tell others about this crazy American over here in Germany tasting things you might not never see. You might not ever see. Wow, I'm an English teacher. I should know that. All right, WhiskyJason here. Bye-bye.